Hey guys, so this is how I travel to a different country every month of the year last year in 2024. So let's start with saying something annoying. I've already filmed this whole video, but I've lost about half the footage, a bit more than half the footage for this. I've only got me describing about France, which is in August, but the rest of the footage before that, so describing all the way up to June, I've lost, so I'm gonna have to re-describe it. So anyway, January I went to Portugal. This is one of my favourite trips already for the whole year because I met two really cool people there in the hostel I stayed at. And by the way, all these trips were a few day trips. So I was also writing down how much I spent for every month of that year to see which place was cheapest to get to and stuff like that. It was just genuinely interesting, and Portugal was the cheapest, so it was only 145 quid for 4 days, 2 full days, for everything, for the whole trip, flights, accommodation, the whole lot. So you know, that was really good. Didn't spend too much just because I didn't eat out. I was cooking at the hostel and stuff. If you do that, it's really cheap, especially when you get cheap accommodation and flights. It was nice as well because I flew to Portugal in January, where it was hotter than the UK. It was about 15 to 20 degrees there, whereas in the UK it was about, well, you know, January weather in the UK, it's about 5 degrees or something like that, so it's not great. But yeah, it was nice travelling in January, somewhere nice. It was right by the sea, the accommodation about a 30-second walk. You could see it from the balcony view you got from the hostel, which was great. But yeah, I really enjoyed this trip because I made a couple mates, and one of them I've seen a few times now in the UK. Met more than a couple people there, but there were two people I got on with specifically, that we went out and did other things in Portugal, activities and stuff. But yeah, so I think I've mentioned the main parts of Portugal, you know, meeting people and staying in this great area. It's funny, when I landed I walked straight from the airport. It was about an hour walk, but I was like, might as well. It was a solo travel trip, so I was like, might as well walk most of the time. I had the time to. It was a nice walk. But yeah, Portugal was mental. I stayed in Faro. I didn't mention that at the start. I was in Faro, Portugal. Next we move on to February, where I was in Germany. I was in Cologne. I messed up on this one because I chose probably one of the most boring places in Germany. I didn't know that at the time. I just booked the cheapest flight I could find. I was like, go on then, let's go. And I got a hostel again. This was a solo travel again because all my mates weren't really travelling at the start of the year. You know, they were either working or doing whatever else. You know, it's winter, so people aren't really travelling in winter. So all my solo trips were kind of at the start of the year and just winter. So yeah, February I went to Germany. I didn't really do much. I went to this leisure centre, which was kind of the highlight, to be honest. I mostly just walked around the whole holiday, but it was a really chill one because it was nice just getting back early, because it got dark about 4 or 5, so getting back early and just chilling in the hostel did feel really nice. I don't do that enough at home, so I kind of appreciated that on holiday. So yeah, I treated the holiday as a time literally just to fully chill out. But yeah, after spending a full day out walking and enjoying the daylight, I met someone. So because we both made music, we had something in common, and so we kind of chatted a lot about that. And then, you know, a bit after that we got each other's socials, and then after that we kind of met up a few times here and there outside of Germany. So, you know, we met on like the last day I was just leaving. You know, after that we've been to a couple of drum and bass events because we both make drum and bass. So that's kind of my main thing I'm focused on at the moment. That and parkour, because you'll hear about this in next month's travel. But yeah, so that's the thing, solo travelling, you meet people in hostels. Most of the time I did, and sort of met someone I could sort of travel around, see bits here and there, because that's what everyone else is doing really. Just solo travelling, just meeting other people, going out with either them or by themselves if they don't really meet someone likewise that also wants to go about here and there exploring. But yeah, Germany was kind of just a chill one. But what I was going to say is both the full days I went to this leisure centre. On one of the days, I think it was the first day, I just swam in the pool. That was one of my main things I did in the day, but I was like, might as well, I'm just doing chill activities in a new country. It was alright. And then the next day, which was cool, I went to this ice skating rink, and it's kind of like it does laps of this whole leisure centre, and below you can see the swimming pool, which is really cool. And not only do you get like this race rink, it literally does laps like a running track, but there was also the normal ice skating rink you could use, so that was fun. I was in there for a while. And yeah, Germany, I assume it is pretty fun if you go to Berlin, or I could have even gone to Frankfurt because that was like the second cheapest flight, so I reckon there was a lot more to do there. But you know, nevertheless, I learned to not look into the place I'm going to and book it that spontaneously, unless I know for sure that the location is nice. Like, say for example I was going to Thailand, I wouldn't really need to look into much. People already say good things about it. I mean, then again, it depends on the place in Thailand and this, that and the other. So you know, you always got to do your research. In March I went to Morocco, and I went with a mate. This was my first travel of the year that I went with a mate. We went to Marrakesh, and it was kind of a parkour holiday. So yeah, now I'm speaking about the parkour trip side of it. So we went there for a few days. We met up with the locals that also did parkour, so we did a bit of that. There was like one spot specifically where everyone did parkour, so that was a fun little trip. And food there was really cheap, so we enjoyed the cheap lifestyle there. And it's because, especially at the time, I was trying to save money travelling, just because I was travelling every month of the year. Really had to make sure I was saving money. I was anyway saving money because I was working in between travelling. Travelled for a few days, then worked. By the way, I didn't mention at the start, but every month of the year I went to a country I'd never been to before. I made sure of that. So even if I went to, say I was just ended up going to a country I've already been to before, I'd make sure I'd go away again just to visit a new country. So I have done a couple trips this year where I went to the same country, so I made sure I also did another country in that month. So there are a few months I did 2 countries, and also there are a few months where I did 2 countries because I fitted 2 countries in one trip. So yeah, because if 2 countries are near enough, I want to check out a new country, you know what I mean? Might as well explore as much as I can. That was very exciting to me, just finding all these new places and exploring them. But yeah, Marrakesh, we went. I rode camels for the first time, went on a quad bike for the first time. Quad bike through the desert. It was nice. It was me, my mate, and then a few others, not too busy. And then I went on the camel ride. My mate didn't really want to do camel riding, but I was like, no, come on, we have to do it. It's my first time, so just wanted to give it a try. It's really, you go really slow on the camels, but it is pretty fun, to be honest, just as a new experience. With that camel experience, you also got get given food. There was this little dancing show. There was this little like performance thing, and then everyone could dance around after. It was like music performance, and then there was a fire show at the end. And all this was in the desert in the middle of nowhere. They take you out, and the transfer to and from the desert from Marrakesh was included in the whole deal, which was only £15 to do this camel ride and all these other activities crammed in one, which is great. Like that's why these cheaper countries are so worth it, and the flights were cheap to get to Marrakesh as well. It was only £60 return, which is really good. And then when you're out there as well, it's cheap, like saving money. It's so worth visiting even for a month, because you're not even spending a lot on the flights. So that's the issue with going to places like Thailand. You're spending a lot on the flights, even though it's really, really cheap when you get there. You do have to spend a bit on the flights, but with Morocco you don't. So actually it's well worth going to Morocco. Outside of Europe for 60 quid return, can't complain. Next, up on the list was Albania in April. This was great because me and my mate, another mate this time, another close mate, we went to Albania and we went to Tirana. And in Tirana, the highlight for me was visiting this massive reservoir. It was a 2-hour hike. We took 3 buses from Tirana city centre, and then we had to take 3 buses. We kind of were in the middle of the nowhere when we got off, so we had to take 1 more bus up to a bit where it's closer to the start of the mountain hike. So I think in the end it was still 3 buses. Then was hiking, got hungry. We were too far into the mountains to find anywhere proper to eat, so there was this just random little corner shop. There was nothing else but these bready, doughy, biscuit type things. They were nice in the end, but I have no idea what they are. Maybe like a classic Albanian savoury-ish cake. But yeah, that's all we had to eat, to be honest, just snacky food, so it wasn't great on the hike with that. But at the end of the hike so you walk through all these bendy roads right next to the mountain, and through these 2 really tall mountains. It's just bendy roads up, and then you go up to the top of the bendy roads. Then you find the reservoir, massive reservoir. We swam in. It was pretty cold. It was in April, so the water was still cold, I guess. But we still wanted to swim in it. It was nice and fresh after 2 hours of hiking as well. Well, at that point, almost 2 hours. It was really nice, refreshing. After that, we had to walk even further up. So we hiked further up and onto this mountain. This was past the roads now, it kind of was a road, but it was not a tarmac road anymore. It was kind of just flattened land. So we walked up this flattened land, got a really cool view of the reservoir. There was a restaurant at the top in the middle of nowhere, so far. So we ate at the restaurant because we were hungry. It was lovely. It wasn't even that expensive because Albania is really cheap as well, by the way. And it was only about £25, £30 return ticket as well, flying there. Accommodation was really cheap as well, £5 a night. So honestly, I'd recommend going here as well if you're flying from London, or maybe even anywhere else in the UK. It's probably not too expensive. But yeah, Albania is it is actually a good choice. Not many people, I don't think many people look into going to Albania, but it was actually really nice. It was such a good holiday. The food over there was good. It was just, there was this really cheap gaming room we went into, which if you enjoy gaming, it was only £1 an hour to use this proper gaming room, whereas in London that would be like £10, £20 an hour to use. So literally 10 times the price at least here in London, which is insane. So me and my mate used that every night. Just in the evening, once we'd done everything, we could just chill and play games for a couple hours. It was a good way to finish the night. But yeah, back to the reservoir hike, because it was the highlight. I keep going off and describing other things, that's what I do, but you know, still making sure I'm getting all them points in. But yeah, the reservoir hike, we got to the top, had our food, saw a lovely sunset on the reservoir, but we kept going up. You could go further past the restaurant, and then you had to pay like a small fee to go up like even further in the mountains. I guess it's just how they make extra money on the restaurant, because not many people really be going there. And we went further up. I went into this cave, this small cave, and then my mate was like, "Wait, what is this?" Came up the cave, and he literally found like a human jawbone. I wasn't convinced the whole time I was in Albania that it was, but then after I was kind of thinking about it on the way home. I was like, wait, yeah, that was definitely a human jawbone, because it had the bum chin mark, like human teeth, just human jawbone. It was really. So that was creepy. I don't know why. It was quite a small one as well, so it didn't even look like someone had died of old age, which was crazy. But I don't know, maybe it was some sort of burial up there because it was nice scenery. I have no idea. But it could have been something dodgy, who knows. But yeah, it was too crazy to be true in my mind to me. fact that it was human bone, so I just don't know. But yeah, it started to get dark, as it is now. Hopefully it's light enough on this video. So I'm having to refilm this whole thing, and I spontaneously wanted to come out now. It is like probably about 9:20 right now, and it's still like pretty light like this, which is really good. The UK summer is pretty much midsummer, I guess, so you know, less than 20 days, so it's crazy right now. So, but yeah, let me not ramble on about that. Overall, it was such a lovely trip. Had good food, good time overall, and met someone in the hostel that was staying in the same room, literally from the same town pretty much that I'm from, which was absolutely crazy. Oh, man, it was so nuts. It was just unexpected. He must have just got the same cheap flight that we got. That might have been why. Or a cheap flight. It might have been a cheap day to fly. Who knows? But that was mad to me. And it's mad, I bumped into someone I knew before on a holiday. Went to Sicily like a few years ago, and it's so random. It's a small world. Yeah, so the reservoir. Where was I? This is what I was going to describe. On the way back, we would have had to walk 2 hours for there to probably not be a bus at the time. We thought there might have been a bus, but probably not, and there wouldn't have been by the time we'd hiked down. So I don't know what we would have done. Had to get some sort of Uber or taxis or something from some random area, which might not even have worked. So we luckily got a lift from this guy that was at the restaurant, the only other person pretty much. He was on a date, so me and my mate were kind of like third wheeling this guy on a date. We waited around for like a good hour for him to give us a lift, and the restaurant owner was like, "Oh, you'll pay him once he gives you the lift into town." But we quickly got off at a red light, and we said bye, and we didn't pay him. We just left, and he was nice, so I guess he probably wasn't too fussed. But and then on the way back on that car journey, it was funny. He was literally describing about how he was driving like crazy on the cliff edge roads. He was saying about how he used to drive like crazy when he was fighting in the war and stuff. I don't know, you find so many random crazy stories when you travel from other people, which is a really good reason for why I like travelling. Anyway, I need to move on to the next point before it gets too dark. May, I went to Vienna, Austria. Vienna. I went with a few mates. One of these few mates was the one I went to Albania with, which was pretty nice. So 2 months on the road travelling with him. And yeah, we just booked this Airbnb in Vienna. It was quite a chill holiday, to be honest. We visited I'm pretty sure Europe's oldest theme park, so that was fun. It was quite big, pretty outdated theme park, but it was nice. And we kind of just explored the city and chilled out. And for me, my mates didn't want to do this, but I made sure I did. It wasn't far to travel to the capital of Slovakia, which is Bratislava. So literally woke up in the morning earlier than my mates and just got a train to where I needed to just get this coach straight to Slovakia. So I did that. And Slovakia was a new country as well, visiting the capital as well. I was like, I've got to do it. And so yeah, did that. That was the main highlight for me. Just walked around for the day. And it's funny because the mate I made in Germany was heading to Bratislava on the same day I was there, but he was heading too late because I had to be back by the time he would have got there. So didn't see him that day, but saw him on the last day I was in Vienna, which was mad. So I'd seen this guy again. So basically did 2 travels with this guy. So he was doing a whole, you know, what's it called, where you interrailing. He was doing interrailing for about a few months, like 6 months or something. So he ended up being in Vienna at the same time as me, which is really cool. And then next holiday, around this time last year, I went to Croatia, and I went with me and my girlfriend. It was really nice. We went to Zadar, so we kind of made sure we went to a place where the flights weren't too expensive and you could go off to different islands from there. So that's what we did for a couple of days. And yeah, it was just a good exploring holiday. It was such a nice location, honestly. Croatia is such a nice country to visit, so that's what we're doing. And yeah, so on this holiday, one of the highlights was visiting this tarantula and scorpion exhibition, because I have a collection of tarantulas, so to me this was really interesting. That was good, going to an exhibition I really wanted to see. We also tried this semi-submarine in Zadar, where it's not worth it because it's by the harbour and stuff, so you don't see much. So you go down under this boat and it's got glass where you can see into the water. We only saw tiny fish because it was right by the harbour, so it's a harbour area, Zadar, so maybe that's why it's less of a touristy area, I feel like, but still, because I don't know anyone else that's been there. But it was good. I still really enjoyed the holiday. Just the area, the locations we went to, it's nice. On the last full day, we took a coach out to Pag, which was this nice area where you could explore with like hiking mountain, and so yeah, good holiday overall. July, I went on a lads trip to Cyprus. We went to Ayia Napa, which really wasn't my type of holiday, but it was a jokes holiday in the end, to be honest. It was really funny, just messing about in the apartment we got, just all 5 of us boys just absolutely messing about. Just really unserious holiday, just taking the piss. Clubbing holidays really aren't for me, so it wasn't one of my favourite, but the times where we were just in the apartment messing about was definitely the highlight, because it was really funny, just constantly messing about, just being unserious and having a good time. And then also a highlight was hiring these ATV vehicles, and these ATVs, we drove all the way to this blue lagoon which we swam in, and me and one other mate swam over to all these boats trying to jump off these party boats, which was hilarious. And on the way back swimming around, we saw these flying fish coming out of the water. It was really cool. Really warm in Cyprus as well, which is so nice, at 29 degrees at night, which is pretty unbearable if you want to get some sleep, but you know, it was good. Yeah, and it's felt like a pretty tropical area, you know, lizards just running about, like fat lizards like this I've never seen before, and I guess tropical fish in the water, which we didn't really see. We went snorkeling, saw a few fish, but nothing crazy. But yeah, Cyprus is it is a really nice area, to be honest. It's a different one. It's quite interesting because it is quite like the UK, because it was, I guess, colonised or something by the UK until 1973 or something like that, or like owned by the UK. I don't really know how to put it, but yeah, they have like yellow post boxes over there. You can drive on the left side. It has UK plugs, which I found really interesting. But yeah, it's cool seeing that in like a really hot country and stuff, a country far away from the UK. It was, at the time I took the flight, it was the furthest flight I'd ever taken. Yeah, it was jokes holiday overall. And then the next trip I was cycling to France. So cycling to France, I took off with the backpack about this big, really heavy on my back. Cycled there on 4 hours sleep, straight from work, because I wanted to go on that day. I made sure. I even missed Notting Hill Carnival in the UK to just go straight there. I just was so determined, even though I was on 4 hours sleep and all this other stuff. I just wanted to go. My bag was packed, you know, I just had everything ready. I basically packed a sleeping bag, hammock, and a waterproof tarp for the top of the hammock, because I was wild camping. I was making sure I was wild camping because it'd be cheaper. It was just more enjoyable on the way, cycling there. So the first day I did 50 miles cycling through Essex and stuff, stopped off in that Sittingbourne, I'm pretty sure that's where it was, in this random, so I was going down random countryside roads. It's got dark, so I was cycling in the dark for about an hour or so, and then yeah, stopped off. Soon after I got to the halfway point, only 8 miles after, so I got 50 miles in, stopped off, to the side of a countryside road, those really thin roads where it's like only one car can fit down pretty much. And then yeah, just camped off in this random camping spot, hammock up, waterproof tarp not up properly, but luckily it didn't rain. And yeah, I just kicked back and slept in this random, hammocked up in this random foresty type area, which was really good. It had loads of trees, perfect for hammocking up, so that literally saved me. I got lucky. I had a massive backpack, but most of the journey, even to Dover, where I had to get the ferry over to France, to Calais, it was quite downhill, to be fair. Luckily, I'm surprised, but it was either flat or downhill, to be fair. I got lucky with that. Otherwise it would have been a nightmare, because like the last 20 or odd miles was like pretty hilly, pretty steep, going through the last bit to get to I think it was actually last 30 miles, to be honest. That was more hilly because it was proper like countryside type area, but it wasn't too bad. I still managed to do it. It wasn't too bad in the end, because you know I had a mountain bike, so it was good for off-road terrain. But yeah, I used my brother's mountain bike for this, and it was serviced like a couple of days before by my brother's mate. Just spontaneously relied on that. So you just got to go for something spontaneously, just see how it goes, to be honest. That's the fun in it, really. That's the fun in it for me anyway. A lot of other people stress it too much, being like, oh, I don't feel prepared enough, or I feel like it's just going to go wrong, so what's the point? I think you just got to go for it. Like, even if it went terribly wrong for me, I mean, it's bad if it goes terribly wrong, like if you get badly injured or stuck somewhere for a while with nothing much around you. That's when it gets bad and dangerous. But if you're stuck but not dangerously stuck in a situation, then it can be quite fun. That's me anyway. I find it, that's my adventurous side, kicking through, finding it enjoyable, kind of being in any situation when exploring. But yeah, like survival instinct, exploration type stuff, that's kind of what I'm like. And then yeah, when I woke up in the morning, I was pretty achy from the 50 miles I cycled the day before, and then yeah, I just cut through this nice scenery. But yeah, the nicest scenery was the last 36 miles, because it was more just countryside. I woke up and I cycled for like 30 seconds and I got to just fields, and it was so nice. And I was cycling past these apple farms, which was lovely. Just grabbed an apple, ate it, and in the night I first discovered I was cycling past apple farms, so picked a couple, took it with me. It was nice in the morning just munching on an apple, because I had no water on me, was really dehydrated, because I didn't want to carry water really too much, because it's heavy and it used up a lot of space in my bag. I didn't really have enough space, because I had to pack some food in there as well. And for dinner I just had these like ham and cheese puff paste, like these ham and cheese pastry things, you could eat them cold. So just had that for dinner, you know, wasn't too bad. Stopped off at Tesco's in the quarter-way mark, and that's where I got food. Then halfway mark I stopped off. I was just chilling in this random like lakey area, like this. I was chilling next to a marsh, and then yeah, 8 miles more, slept in this field, woke up, got myself together, pushed through, stopped off at this corner shop to get a drink and stuff because I was really thirsty. From this point on in the video is the rest of the trip described, so now cutting on to the next part. On the way, then stopped off at this corner shop in, I wish I could remember the place, because I remember being by the station in this place. It was near Dunkirk, not in France. I think it was before that, to be honest. I can't quite remember. But yeah, so we stopped off somewhere. I'll put it on as a title. After that, I stopped off. Was drinking like coconut water just to refresh myself. And after that was cycling. By the way, Dunkirk, I cycled up this massive hill, was a massive trek. Then after I got to Coventry, this was the nicest stop because it was a proper nice area. to be fair, and it just felt like a bigger area of civilization because I hadn't really seen that. I was just cycling through countryside, so it was nice to see that for a bit. And then after Canterbury, I hope I said that the first time, I went to the last 15 miles. I did the last 15 miles and that got me to Dover. Then got the ferry over, got to Calais about 11. No, I don't know, 10 or 11, or 9, 10, 11 p.m. And at this point it was dark, so I just got food. I was eating this carbonara, which was pretty horrible, to be honest. And then after that, because it was pretty horrible, I was cycling but I wasn't feeling the greatest. So I was like, I just want to relax now that I've eaten and stuff. But I had to cycle for like 4 or 5 miles, and then I found there was only private land, so I was done for. I just had to camp in some private land in the end. I had to cut down nettles. I broke my bike at this point. Honestly, it was absolutely finished. I was asking this random French guy that was fishing for a good camping spot, and he said in this cow field, which was terrible. Went into it, was nothing, nowhere to camp, just an open field pretty much with a couple trees, but you couldn't really hang a hammock up to them. So I went to this private land and I just had to cut down nettles. But yeah, it was nice. It was cool waking up in France because that was my first time in France, and I wild camped there on my first night. So good story to tell the grandkids. So after that, I woke up with about 30 or something loads. I basically woke up with loads of mosquito bites around my crotch, which I don't know how it was only that area, because I was fully covered up in this hammock. It had the mosquito net, it had everything covering me. I had everything zipped up. I was wearing full clothes like this, and I still got bitten somehow, like all over. Unless this was the day before and I'd only just noticed it in the morning. But yeah, because it was August, I guess there was loads of mosquitoes out. But yeah, this trek was wild in the end. It was really cool having my bike on holiday as well, but I had to walk it back into Calais centre for about an hour, and this is where I got my bike fixed, and this guy fixed it with just his fingers in about 2 minutes, and I was struggling trying to get it fixed. I've always kind of struggled with that, trying to fix up bikes, but I want to get better at it because I do love cycling. And it's just way more expensive getting it serviced every time. But yeah, because also if I did have any issues on the way to France, I would have been screwed, honestly. Don't know what I would have done. I would have had to walk to the nearest train station because I had my bike. I can't really get it on buses and stuff, and if I was in the middle of nowhere down those countryside lanes, I would have been gone for. But because I was by myself as well. But it was all about that spontaneity, you know. I love these spontaneous adventures. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm there to accept it, to be honest. Obviously, you can only say that so much. You can't really be like that as much with really dangerous situations. But yeah, when I was in France, got my bike fixed, and it was so nice just cycling my bike around. The walk from my hostel, bearing in mind the cheapest hostel was 45 quid, which I was not happy with, which is why I wished I wild camped the whole thing, but it just got to me in the end, the fact I had to camp on private land, and my bike was broken. I had to walk it back to Calais. By that point I'd ordered the hostel. Yeah, it was a bit of a shambles towards the end, but yeah, it was 45 quid a night. I spent 2 nights there, so 90 quid, not too bad. At least, you know, I saved a lot on 2 nights of wild camping, plus the transport there was only like 30 quid away each way on the ferry to France, with 30 quid, and the way back 30 quid, so it was actually really good. But yeah, on the trip it was just a solo travel trip, so I just kind of cycled to the beach, swam there. I thought I saw sharks in the sea also. I don't know if there are many on the Calais beach, but I thought I saw a small school of sharks with their fins just up, like properly in the water. There weren't big sharks, if there were sharks, but you know, I saw like a good 3-4, which is absolutely nuts. But anyway, this trip felt like a really weird one, because having cycled France, it was nice just cycling around an area I hadn't been. But Calais is just not the greatest place to visit, because it's like just the area where the ferries drop in and leave. So yeah, but towards the end of it, it was quite fun, because I found these abandoned war bunker type things. Someone commented on this France video what they were exactly, I can't quite remember. But yeah, that was cool. So I did some exploring, and yeah, other than that, I don't really remember what I was really doing, just exploring and cycling around on my bike. But yeah, I had to recover from the mad cycle there, so it was kind of good just chilling, to be honest, and swimming in the sea after, just refreshing myself up in the hostel after all that cycling. And wild camping was great. It felt good. September, I did 2 countries. I went to Ireland, which I'd never been to before, and I went to Prague, which I'd never been to before. So Prague, Czech Republic. And in Ireland I went to Cork. So Ireland was a family trip. We were staying in this countryside house miles out from literally anywhere. We had to hire a car when we were in Ireland, there and back. It was about a 20-minute drive to the nearest like little village. But I much prefer these countryside, just out in the middle of nowhere holidays compared to any other holiday, just in this small cottage. We had no service there or no Wi-Fi, so it was a proper just detox from social media, phone, everything, which made the holiday quite a bit better, having that little detox space in between. And just it was a fun little family trip, because we just went around seeing cool places. Because we had the car, we were just able to go around everywhere. We were in Cork, so it was a lovely countryside area. And we went to the beach at one point. We were staying right next to this farm with sheep, so we were just walking through that, and then we were staying up in these mountains, so we were also exploring that at some point as well. And then yeah, just overall pretty wholesome experience, that holiday. And then, but Ireland is quite expensive to travel to, so because I think it's because a lot of things get imported there, so they have to up the price. I'm not too sure what it is. Lovely place to visit. I've now been everywhere in the UK other than Northern Ireland and like Isle of Man and all those small islands coming off. But yeah, every UK country I've been to now, I guess, just not Northern Ireland. But yeah, we just went around. We went exploring these just countryside hills and mountains and stuff, and the beach was lovely too. So Ireland was a very good trip, fun different experience for that year, as it was the one family trip. So it was a good break in between the solo travelling and travelling with mates. And then the Prague trip was a parkour trip. So these videos, these vlogs, so we've got 3 vlogs on this trip, plus an edit that we filmed for the parkour content. And this was a 4-day trip, but we slept in a parkour gym, which was really fun, honestly. This was one of the best trips as well because of that. And yeah, we just had such a good time, me and my one other mate, doing parkour there, just training in the gym and then just training spots outside as well. It was just a parkour trip really, so that's pretty much all we did. And we did a bit of walking about, exploring the city a little bit, but for the most part we were just training hard, doing parkour and filming content for that parkour channel, which is called Vault X. So if you want to find the channel, search up Vault X Parkour. I'll write down what you should search up to to find the channel, or I'll put a link in the description as well of this video so you can find it easier. So yeah, we did a bit of walking about, which is nice, like towards the end around the old town. There was this good viewing point in Prague, and we also, on the very last day before we went to the airport, because it was on the way to the airport, we went to this pretty steep hill, and we got this really cool view. And then on the way down we went into this cool cave. It wasn't a massive cave, but it was pretty cool up on this hill. And then yeah, we came back. Lovely trip in the end, top stuff. And yeah, my favourite thing to do when I'm on holiday is to do parkour, so that's why it was one of my favourite trips for sure. So that was September. October, I went to 2 countries. So I went to Portugal first at the start. I went with my girlfriend, and the other trip I did with my girlfriend as well. So we went to Lisbon. I got a flight to Faro, so I'd flown twice to Faro last year. I basically flew to Faro because it was way cheaper. It was about 35 quid to fly that, over spending like 80 quid to 120 straight into Lisbon. So I had to fly to Faro, and then I got a 3.5 hour coach up to Lisbon, and then 3.5 hour coach back down to Faro at the end, and then flew back. And it was only a 4-day holiday, so it really felt like I was travelling a lot on that trip. We ended up pretty much just walking around, just touring, walking around doing just usual tourist stuff, which was nice, just looking around the city and going around the shops, stuff like that, and eating out, which was nice. And later on that trip, we went to see one of my girlfriend's brother's girlfriend. That's a mouthful. At the time, we visited her, and yeah, she was just showing us around Lisbon. And then after, we went to Sintra, and we went to this really cool like tourist area in Sintra, which was all this really old-fashioned buildings and stuff like that, like I think like religious area as well, with the gods and goddesses and stuff. So that was a cool trip. There was like, you got to walk through these long underground cave tunnels, which was really cool. And then yeah, overall that trip was a good one, just exploring the area. Yeah, it was good because me and my girlfriend got driven out to Sintra. Oh no, we went to Sintra, we got the train there, and then we got driven back. And it was good having someone we knew living there, because we just got shown around and basically talked through the whole area of Lisbon and Sintra, and it was a good experience. Like, we were told where the best Portuguese custard tarts were. This place had like a massive line. We got those, and we were told other like nice bakeries to go to and stuff like that. So that's what we did, walking around. And then yeah, it was a good trip in the end. Next was Turkey. So I went with my girlfriend as well. This was mid-October so Lisbon was the beginning of October. So yeah, Portugal twice in 1 year, by the way, that was crazy. But I had to do a new country every month of the year, so I had to do Turkey. But I went to Portugal because my girlfriend's mate, last minute, she couldn't go on the flight with her. So my girlfriend wanted me to come to Portugal, Lisbon, so I flew over with her. It was just a few day trip. I was like, go on then. And yeah, and then after, about 10 days after, we were off to Turkey. Turkey was lovely, honestly. Antalya, really good views, really inexpensive country as well. So, and was cheap to fly to as well. So overall, that is another place I'd recommend going, for price-wise as well, but also views were great. I only realised after I'd got back from Turkey, by the way, that we were outside of Europe, because most of Turkey isn't in Europe. think past Istanbul it's not Europe, so that surprised me for sure. But you know, so yeah, we did quite a bit on this trip actually. We went on a full day boat trip around these different, we stopped off for a bit and we had lunch on the boat. We stopped off, did different swims and just chilled on different beaches. It was great. And like there was the coach transfer to the place where we took the boat trip and back, which was 2 hours each way. It was included in the price. I think it was about 20 quid or something to do the whole thing, which is crazy. And on that trip we also went to the world's largest tunnel aquarium, which was fun, interesting one. And I swam with the most amazing sunset, just with the mountains behind it and stuff. It was just the maddest sunset I'd ever seen. So I had to go for a swim when the sun was setting. It was a great feeling. October, that's October complete. Went to Turkey and Portugal again. In November, I went to Luxembourg. This was a bit of an interesting one, because Luxembourg, I was like, why don't I just go somewhere where I don't really know much about at all. This was the same with Albania. I went to somewhere which I don't really know much about at all, but decided to do the same with Luxembourg. So Luxembourg used to be part of Belgium, and then it was its own little independent country. So it's basically just a big city, because it's not much bigger than London. And so yeah, I wouldn't recommend this place, especially if you're solo traveling, because to just be staying in just Luxembourg is a bit crazy, to be honest. There really isn't much to do. I was definitely in the best area because I was in this hostel and it had like this really nice lake. But there were small like hilly hikes, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was quite a nice area though. I was the only person in the hostel though. I mean, on the first night I got there, there was a ton of people from Belgium just stopping off there for like one night. And then after that I was just there by myself, just me and then the workers, because it's a summer place, like you can go kayaking and stuff on the like lake bit I was by, but because it was like off season, there wasn't anyone there. So cause it was cold as well in November, but I went for a cold swim. I swam in when it was about 6 degrees. Yeah, it was 6 degrees outside, so I went for a morning swim, which woke me up. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. That is definitely my sort of thing, so I was glad I was doing that on the holiday. Also, I went on a couple of hikes, but the main reason I stayed in a certain place in Luxembourg as well, instead of getting like a hostel in the city centre, was because I was right by Belgium, so it was one bus up to Belgium. I was there for about 2 hours. So I've been to Belgium, I count it as a new country, so a new country on that trip, which was good, but still, I wasn't there for long. I was there just under 2 hours actually, because there was literally nothing to do. I was in Bastogne. I can't remember how you say it, but yeah, it was just a small like town, to be honest, with not much to do. So, you know, I was just there briefly. I got a Belgian waffle because, you know, they're known for their waffles. It wasn't even amazing, to be honest. So all that hype for nothing. It was pretty fresh though, to be fair. It was this nice little bakery. It was a nice little area, to be honest. But other than that, I did a lot of travelling on this trip. Like every day I was just going to a different country, because I just wanted to tick off more, I just wanted to go to more countries multiple times. So Luxembourg is a small country, is surrounding all these other countries. So France, Germany, Belgium. So the day after that after I went to Belgium, I went to France. So I went to Belgium the first full day, I guess. The second full day I went to France. Third day, so final day before I got my plane. I got the plane back, sorry. I went to Germany. So I went to the oldest city in Germany, which was cool though. France, I went to this small place called Foinville. Really not a lot to do there. It was raining as well, and just pretty dark and miserable, and I was just sat in a car park just eating lunch, Well, at that time it was about dinner. But I was just eating a sandwich for dinner. Don't know what I was doing mostly, but I was just sat in a car park because it was raining, and I don't know, I just kind of lost my mind because I was like, what am I doing? This trip is so spontaneous. That's what it's about. To be honest, I don't really mind what I do travelling. It's just, regardless, it's going to be fun. Travelling's travelling. You know, you're going to have more boring parts, less boring parts, especially when you're solo travelling. You're not all of it's just going to be a big high, a big fun trip. There's going to be some parts where you're just kind of waiting about, especially when you're just doing a massive, just constantly on public transport holiday. But the good thing about doing all this public transport was that it was free, because in Luxembourg it's free because they made it free a few years ago, I think in 2022, somewhere around that, because they wanted transport to be free because of traffic. They just didn't want a lot of traffic, plus it's a small country, I guess it makes sense. With France, I wanted to go to Metz when I was in Luxembourg, but I was like, it was quite late already, and I ended up just going to Thoinville instead of spending a lot of time in Metz. But I wish I went there in the end, because it seemed like a better place to visit in France. But you know, especially as I'd only been to France once before. But yeah, that's another country I'd done twice in 1 year. The first time visiting as well. So I'd visited France for the first time in 2024 and Portugal. But I'd still gone 2 separate times in that year, which is mad. But yeah, Luxembourg was definitely an interesting one for sure, because of these 4 different countries. Oh, I did go to this really cool place that was actually really near my hostel. It was about 20-minute bus journey. Oh no, actually, I think a 10-minute bus journey, and there was this little village, this old school village, and it had like this medieval castle on top of this mountain. It was really cool to explore. And then the other side there was another, like, not mountain, like hill. There was another hill on the other side, so I went around to that, explored, went up that castle bit as well. And yeah, that was really fun, to be fair. Then after I went off, I did that in the morning, then went off, and yeah, it was good. Also, in Luxembourg I didn't have like a charger, so I was just running purely off of power banks. So I actually had to ration my phone, so I was just going to bed really early. So I woke up early, like 8 every morning, which is rare for me. I normally wake up about 10 every morning, 9, 10 or 11 every morning. So yeah, it's like, that was good. It set my routine good at least. But it's because I had to save my battery, which was a bit of a struggle. I was trying to find like a cable, because my cable wasn't working or something at the time. Something like that. But it was good because there was one person that stayed in the hostel, and he happened to be in my room, but I think they must have purposely put him in that room to fill up rooms. And he kindly let me borrow his charger cable, which lasted me the rest of the journey, which was really good, convenient. It was really good. And so yeah, I charged up my power bank, my biggest one, on my phone. And then yeah, I just saw him briefly in the evening, and then in the morning we had breakfast at this other hostel. Well, the breakfast was included for the hostel at least, which was nice. Another one of those, like Morocco, it was the same. But yeah, we went off. We'd spoken in the evening, and we chatted a bit in the morning. I got his number just so I could meet up with him later on in the day, possibly, which I did. Coming back from France, we met up and we went out, just had dinner. We just got some dinner out, to be honest, because it was in the evening. I needed dinner, and yeah, that was pretty much all we did. And we just, yeah, I actually messaged him like last month. I was asking him, because he lives in Malta, I was asking him if I could get hosted, and he was saying it is possible, especially if I solo travel there. I think it'd be fine. So I might be going to Malta at some point as well, so watch out for that vid. That's another country I haven't been to. I wanted to go at this, instead of Portugal, I actually wanted to go to Malta, but I ended up going to Portugal. It was really cheap in the end, Portugal, so I was like, go on then. So yeah, that was Luxembourg. A very interesting trip, very tiring from all the travel, because public transport is just, it just does get tiring just doing all of that. When you know you don't really want to be doing all of it, because especially when it's long journeys. Every journey, I mean, it was just an hour and a half for me to get into the centre of Luxembourg, and other than that, there actually wasn't a lot around me, so it was nuts, honestly. That journey was crazy, because I had to get a 35-minute bus and then an hour train. The trains were once every hour, so sometimes I had to wait for like half an hour. Same with the buses, they're only once every hour, so you've got to be careful of that in Luxembourg. But transport is free there, so you can also just do whatever. I just jumped on a bus for no random reason at the start of the trip on the first day, just for the fun of it. Went a few stops and just got off. I know it was spontaneous. I don't know why I do all this weird spontaneous stuff. It's just fun. It just switches things up a little. But yeah, last trip, December. This was genuinely one of the best trips as well, because I went to Egypt with a few of my mates, and originally it was just going to be me and one other mate, but a couple other mates joined in the end. And on this trip, in the end, we ended up doing so many activities. This was the most activity-packed trip I did in the end. I'd never done this before, but we did the speedboat with the rubber dinghy at the back we were holding on to. I went snorkeling in the Red Sea, and before I went snorkeling, actually, I think this was the day before maybe, we saw this really venomous like blue dotted stingray, and if it stings you, it'd kill you. I sounded so nervous when I said that. I was a bit wary of that, to be honest. There's a lot of like proper venomous and dangerous tropical creatures in the blue sea, because it's like a proper coral reef. This is my first time seeing all this coral reef, and it was absolutely crazy. So that was an experience and a half, and one of my best trips because of that. It was just unreal seeing all of these tropical fish. And then it was really deep. It was like the deepest water I'd ever looked down into. Seeing loads of different fish, like multicoloured fish, all of that. And at some point I even saw a fish like eating proper going for a sea urchin or a starfish. I think it was a starfish, which is quite sick to see. But yeah, I wanted to go scuba diving in the end, but someone that we were with on the trip didn't want to do it, so we were like, that's fine, we'll just go snorkeling, which we still saw quite a bit, and it was still very enjoyable. And we went snorkeling, and then after we had like these sunbeds, and we watched sunset there, and we had dinner in this area. You paid to get in, but it had all this inclusive stuff, like the sunbeds and this area to eat, with a nice view of just the sea. It was lovely. But yeah, in Egypt as well, I went to Sharm el Sheikh. I didn't actually specify that. And by the way, in Luxembourg I went to Lotz Hazen. That's where I was staying in the hostel. But yeah, anyway, in Egypt, the activities we did was also just eating out all the time, which was lovely because it was super cheap there. We had this really nice chicken, it was Syrian street food. It was this like chicken place. They just had chicken on the roast, on the spit, just rotating, rotisserie chicken. And it was the nicest chicken I'd ever had. I don't know what they put on it. The sauce and everything was just, it was to die for. It was to die for. That chicken was just, it was like lovely, rich sauce. And it had, the dish was only about £3.50, and it's served with all these vegetables, rice, chicken. One of the nicest dishes I'd ever had. It was just lovely out there. And we went in December and it was warm there, and that trip was just cherry on top to the year. It was definitely a good finisher. And yeah, it was just, we went to stayed in this resort. It said to have had 11 pools, but I think it had a bit less. But still, how can you complain when it's like that many pools? So yeah, there was like one big pool in the centre, other couple smaller ones. There was a slide in one of the pools, but unfortunately it wasn't on at the time. But yeah, we swam in the pools, and the water was freezing in the pools. And then at this holiday resort, we saw these dancers, like by the pool there was this dancing bit. I randomly just ran up and joined in. You can see it in the vlog of me dancing. But yeah, that was great. And then my mate joined in later on. He was dancing as well, doing all of that. But yeah, just the culture there is so different. It's just so good to go to the countries and see it. But yeah, in Egypt I rode camel again and I quad biked again. So the activities are definitely similar to Morocco, which is great because I guess it's North Africa, so similar vibe. And yeah, just good to go with a good group of mates on that trip, to be honest. And yeah, just great ender to the end of the year. Although the flight back, I was terrified. The flight was rocking side to side like crazy coming down because the winds were strong. And when we were going I thought we were just full on like crash landing. It kind of was. It was a bit bumpy when we actually landed, but properly rocking side to side. And then we kind of just went to the side, like we were still just going side to side just before we landed. And so we were proper jolly landing, but we made it back in the end. I was so relieved. I was like, man, that was stressful. So honestly, I was not having it. I was stressed out. I was like, no, what's going on? But to be honest, I don't know too much about flights and safety with if planes are going a bit too crazy, but I guess planes just, if it's going to be too dangerous of a landing, I guess they'll just take off and recircle back round and land again. But it was a fly. It was a bit mad coming back to the UK for the final trip of the year. But yeah, those are all the countries I did last year. I mean, it's just mad. I'm just excited making this video because it's just so mad looking back at picturing all these memories of last year, all the highlights, everything, the people I went with, the people I didn't go with because solo travelling at some point, the people I met, just all these different varieties of locations and experiences. It was great. I'd honestly recommend doing this. Travelling in between work for just a few days. Most people do the whole, we're going to go on one big trip for about a month, travel to 5 different countries in Asia, for example, or around America. People do those types of trips. I do really want to get around to doing that, obviously, but at first it was just mostly around Europe for me because, I just wanted to do some solo trips and just affordable trips just in between work. Because, my job at the time as well was quite good and it was getting me money, so I did want to be at home earning money at the same time as flying. Because flights are so cheap from London, you can literally you can afford to just go out and come back, especially the flights I was finding for like £30 return to £60 return. I think Albania might have even been £25 return. You can find flights to Albania for only like about 25 return at some points. Some of those flights were just so cheap, man. It's so worth looking into. I'd highly recommend Skyscanner. That is definitely the best site for flights. And then, unless there's other sites that discount you heavily on flights, but it filters all the cheapest flights, and I always just end up using that. So yeah, I was filtering the flights to the cheapest, and it shows you different countries. I was just like, yep, let me select that country. Bang, I was there.